Nancy Pelosi, several other women on stage tonight, and she joins us now. It is so nice to meet you. I cannot tell you how many people have mentioned your name and said, this is the one to look out for. Tell us why. I mean, people see you as a rising star.
This whole experience here has just really been incredible. When I started my campaign for Congress, I was one who people said, Tulsi, you have a bright future, but there's no way you can win. I came from a 45% deficit back in February behind the assumed frontrunner and came back and won the primary with a 22% margin on August 11th.
That's pretty impressive.
It's been awesome, and it really came about really through grassroots, through people organizing, getting out, getting the vote out, and showing up on Election Day, and that's what I credit all of this to.
This is a very big night for you.
She's a war veteran, the first Hindu congresswoman, the best surfer in Congress. Tulsi Gabbard is home in Hawaii.
And she's on extreme recess.
Every time I come out of the water, I feel refreshed, I feel inspired, I feel motivated.
And you spend a lot of time in Washington now because of your job. How important is it for you to be out here when you can be?
Literally every time I come home, my first stop is the ocean. I go straight home, drop my bags, put on my suit, and even if it's just for a 5-minute swim, or if it's for a surf, either way, that's my #1 priority, and wash the airplane off me and get my feet back in the sand and be grounded.
When you first started surfing, was it kind of a boys' club? And did you have to break in to prove yourself?
Well, you know, I grew up with 3 older brothers, rough and tumble household, always competing in one way or another, so it was nothing that I wasn't used to. Went on and, you know, served in the military and even in politics, where women are still very largely outnumbered. So in surfing or in work and in life, it's kind of the way I grew up. How are you? Lili koi laichi and lihimoy all over. Once you get in the water, you immediately wake up, you feel energized, and I have never, ever regretted getting up early to go out for a surf. Starting the day that way is so positive, and I think puts the correct outlook on the day as I go out and work for my constituents and visit with them and see what's going on in their lives and how I can try to make things better.
Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who is an Army captain with a true passion for people.
It's a very rejuvenating and refreshing experience that gives you a very clear perspective.
It's not every day you see a member of Congress on a surfboard, riding waves and truly at home in the water. But then again, Hawaii Representative Tulsi Gabbard is no ordinary politician. She's arguably one of the most unique in American politics.
It is the most special place on the planet.
Hawaii may be her special place, but in Washington, Gabbard's already proven herself to be a special kind of politician. Engaging, 34 years young, with a million-watt smile and potential to match. In less than 3 years on the Hill, she's earned a reputation as one of her party's rising stars. The first American Samoan elected to Congress. The first elected Hindu. A U.S. military combat veteran who's also the vice chair of her party's national committee. She's made headlines as an outspoken critic of the president, and did I mention she's also a Democrat?
I work for the people of Hawaii who gave me this responsibility, who gave me this job. I work for the American people, and I do my best every day to do what is in their best interest.
But for all her rock star status, Gabbard's seen as a rebel within her own party, someone who pulls no punches when it comes to speaking her mind, even if it raises eyebrows among fellow Democrats.
As long as we've had a United States military in place, women have been raising their hands to serve our country. During my deployment, there were missions that I volunteered for and was not allowed to go on simply because I'm a woman. They said, sorry, no girls allowed. If you can pull your weight and if you can do the job, you should be able to do it. So I think what we see in the policy change now that we're seeing starting to be executed is just a reflection of what women have already been doing in the military.
If you want to make a combat unit ineffective, assign some women to it. It's uncivilized, and women can't do it.
I've seen women who are highly capable and who dispel every single word, some of the so-called uncivilized parts of what occurs when you are in combat, when you're at war. That's the reality that we train for. This is not something new, and it's not something that any woman who raises her hand to serve in uniform finds as a surprise. We know what we sign up for.
I cannot overstate my disgust and disappointment over the continued reports of sexual misconduct in our military. Last night, a woman came to me and said her daughter wanted to join in the military, and could I give my unqualified support for her doing so? Thanks. I could not.
Earlier today, we heard from Donna Brazil that what many people had suspected for a long time has turned out to be true. The DNC secretly chose their nominee over a year before the primary elections even occurred. This shines a light on how deeply broken our campaign finance laws are and how they've weakened individual candidates while strengthening and empowering political parties and special interests. These laws essentially allowed the Clinton campaign to bypass individual campaign contribution limits by funneling millions of dollars through the DNC and state parties, taking control of the DNC in the process. Along with the recent retaliatory purge of Bernie Sanders and Keith Ellison supporters from the DNC's executive committee, this is just further evidence that the DNC needs to be completely overhauled to take our party back from the special interests of a powerful few and put it back in the hands of the people. We must bring about real campaign finance reform. We must get rid of the undemocratic system of superdelegates. We must implement open or same-day registration in Democratic primaries to actually encourage voter engagement. We must care more about people than protecting the status quo. No more games, no more retaliation, no more picking of winners and losers. We must act now to take back our party, a party that belongs to the people, and fight for a new path forward that is open, transparent, and accountable, and that strengthens our democracy.
She was way ahead of the curve on this. The Democratic Congressman, Tulsi Gabbard, the fine state of Hawaii. What I love about the Congresswoman she's on is I always hear from Democrats who are ticked off of what she has to say and Republicans who are ticked off. So you're a mutual offender.
Any retaliation? The Clintons have had a well-oiled machine in Washington for years. Do you fear any retribution from the Clintons, and what's your relationship been like with her?
Well, you know, I was heavily warned by people who care about me to not endorse Senator Sanders because of that fear of retaliation. And look, that fear is something that exists in a lot of folks that I've heard from. There is far too much at stake here to stand on the sideline and let politics get in the way of what's real. And what's real is war and the cost of war. I've seen and felt that cost firsthand through my service and my deployments to the Middle East, and I cannot stand on the sidelines and do nothing. When we have a clear choice that many people are not informed about, there are very stark differences between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that people know what those differences are so they can at least make an educated and informed decision.
You did something that nobody thought you were going to do, probably most people thought you shouldn't have done. They had anointed you to be the next great queen of the Democratic Party establishment. They made you the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee, and you threw that away in the last election cycle, and you endorsed Bernie Sanders. Why did you do that?
First of all, my goal has never been to be queen of the Democratic establishment. No. Never once entered my brain. So let's just put that one aside.